You said you have something at 1?
Yeah, I think it's.
No.
How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Just trying to get a lot of the information out there for you so that you can start working on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll wait a couple more minutes for people to come in, but yeah, if you have any questions, stuff like that, what's up?
Are we allowed to ask questions about our test?
Let's see, not until tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have people taking it up through 11 o'clock p.m. tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, did you want me to get off of the call for a little while, or? But I hear you.
No, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
Did you see what time I took my test?
No, what time?
I took it when it first opened at like 12:30.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I want to get this over with.
Good gracious, yeah. I was trying to think. Yeah, I saw that you had taken it, and I think I had gone through it. I think.
Yeah, because I got feedback. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about, but it's okay.
Okay.
I understand.
Or you and I can, after this, we can, I can invite you to another Zoom meeting, just you and me, you know.
Okay.
Whatever we need to do is fine. Okay. I've got lots of videos being streamed in and out of here, so it may get a little bit noisy. I apologize for that, but we'll do the best we can here, that's for sure. One thing is, I believe that you probably just now were notified by the president. Did y'all read his email to you?
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I just saw it come through. I was doing something else, but if it's what my dean told me yesterday, and verify whoever said they read it, we can anticipate not only will this entire semester be online now, but Maymester is going to be online, and summer 1 classes and summer 3 classes, because we all start at the same time in summer 1 and summer 3 will also be online.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was waiting for Colin to catch up, because like I got my stuff from TWU that it was going to be all online for this summer anyways.
yeah. They haven't made a decision here at Colin about summer 2, since it doesn't start until about the 2nd week of July. So we're still waiting on word about that. But it was one of those things where I think the president finally kind of caught on to what we were telling him is we don't need to dangle our students from, are we coming back? Are we not coming back? So he just finally made the decision, which was, like you said, with other colleges around here that just said, you know, let's do summer 1 and summer 3 since they start at the same time. Maymester also, which is going to be really interesting for Maymester. It is. Is anybody taking a Maymester class?
Nope, not with Colin.
No.
Yeah, it's a very, very fast-paced class. I used to teach college algebra during the Maymester, and we have 11 days.
Ugh. Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can see with some classes, and I don't mean to be, you know, stereotypical, but, you know, like if you had maybe a sociology or psychology.
English.
Even English. One of my students was taking English also, along with college algebra and Maymester. He said it was kicking his rear. I'm like, well, yeah, these two together.
Whoa.
Papers to write.
Yeah, he was asking for it then, that's for sure.
If, like I was taking a class over the summer that, like, no matter where you take it, you have to take it in person. It's an education class for an education degree. So I have to be like with a cohort of people and
Sure.
all that stuff. Do you know, are they still going to do those online or?
Yeah. Was it something that you had already like chosen to be in? Like,
Sorry,
have
you
you
cut out. What was that?
did you register for the course already?
Yeah, I'm already registered for it.
Okay. From what the dean told us yesterday, basically they're going to stop letting anybody into classes at the moment. They're going to notify all of you guys who have already signed up for summer and Maymester classes to let you know, hey, this is going online. Now then they'll reopen the registration for summer, and with the understanding that all of our classes are online now. So then that way you can back out if you want to, or take it if you want to. And it's pretty wild because we were looking at the numbers yesterday, and like all the classes that are scheduled to be online are full. And so it's all the classes that either weren't given the opportunity to go online, or maybe just students wanted face-to-face. We're not sure yet. So we're going to see what happens. And I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. I think some classes are pretty good about doing that to be a pretty nice switch over. Some just aren't. So, but they'll be, if you're already signed up, you'll be receiving either an email or a phone call and to alert you. And then what they'll do is they'll go back, and then you'll see that every one of the classes for summer 1 and summer 3 and Maymester will say that they're online.
Wow.
Okay. My big question was, well, will the school ever reopen during this time? And that's the other thing. What I mean by is, can the library reopen? Can the computer labs reopen? You know, things like that. So that's our big concern now is like, you know, what if our students need access to resources? So I think that they're having another big meeting tomorrow, and they'll hash some of our questions out that we asked the deans. So we all think a little bit different. So I like the idea that they take our concerns to the president. So what I'm planning on doing from here on, for the most part, I'm going to record my lecture as if I'm with you in class, okay? And so as I'm writing my notes, I'll be talking to you all the way through it. I just did one last night. It takes a little bit of time, and then it takes a little bit of time to upload them too. But I'm using a Microsoft something stream. There you go.
Like Note.
Yeah, Microsoft Stream, and that way I don't have to post 2 different files for you. You'll see the actual notes being taken as I talk you through it.
That's nice.
And it saves a lot of room. It's not, I'll still post the link for you in modules for test 3 materials now. And that way, instead of seeing a finished document that has my scribble all over it, how did that scribble get there? And so
Exactly.
I'll hold your hand pretty much through there as much as I can. What I'm thinking is I will put up a copy of the notes blank. So then that way, if you wanted to kind of participate with the lecture,
Yeah, cool.
people can then say, if you have the ability to print those off, that's great. Or if you just want to write on paper, that's fine too. But then that way you can have some actual physical notes. And then if need be, if you want me just to go ahead and post then a finished product, I always can do that too. So, you know, I just think that's going to be better. I think in the small amount of time that we have together on Zoom, and they're trying to say, you know, try to put your lessons out there so that Zoom can literally be a helping session. You know, take care of all the concerns of your students. of course, answer any questions that they've got on homeworks and stuff like that. As far as teaching the lesson, they really want us to like go ahead and stream that to you instead. The nice thing of that is that you can be, 12:30 at night or 12:30 in the morning, and you can watch it if you wanted to. So
Yeah.
you don't have to literally be right here with me. So I think that's going to be better. Like I said, it's a learning curve, and but I'm getting there. So I think we'll be okay.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Will we still have like a printout version that we can have? Because I like to have the paper with me, instead of having to go into the video and fast forward all the way to the part where you're talking about whatever question, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So what I was thinking I was going to do, and like I said, I just kind of wanted y'all's feedback too, is I'll put in there a blank set of notes.
Yeah.
So that if you wanted to follow me, you could. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
I'm going to put the video, okay, of the actual lecture going on. Basically, you won't see me. Basically, you'll just be hearing my voice and watching what's going on the iPad, okay? But underneath my iPad, I've brought your notes up, so it's going to be my foundation. Then the last thing I can do is go ahead and put a copy of the notes filled out already. So then basically I'm trying to take care of everybody. Yeah. So does that sound like something we would want to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll go blank, and then we'll do lecture, video, and then we'll do filled in notes already. Okay.
Yeah,
And so
anything to make it feel like normal again, just because like
absolutely.
I mean, not trying to be funny with it, but I feel like I've gotten dumber with math in the last 3 weeks, and
Me too.
Mhm.
Well,
I feel like I was actually getting a hang of things, and then this happened, and I'm like, crap, I'm back to square one.
Made me
Mhm.
realize how helpful the math lab truly is.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
my homework. This is the first homework I got lower than a passing grade. Like,
Yeah.
the last homework it was horrible. I was like, I needed so much help on that one. I was like, and then the graphs, I couldn't figure out how to cut the stupid line on the graph, and I got frustrated. I'm like, I'm done. I can't.
yeah.
I
Well,
YouTube that.
I'm going to go back to the homeworks that required us to do some type of graphing. I'd already talked to Aubrey about this, and I want to go back in there. And like I said, if you attempted that problem, then if you just missed it because you're off a smidge, I just hadn't had time, y'all, to be honest with you. But I want to go back in there and give you the benefit of the doubt and give you those points back. Okay, so I promise you I will go back in there. We will not be getting away from graphing all so much, but I'm thinking that it'll be a little bit easier as we go through. What I'll try to do too over the weekend is maybe make a video of ways to help you in Connect Math to do the graphing, because in my math lab they give us lots of tools and it's so much easier, and it's just a shame that we're in Connect Math for this. So I'll do some digging and ask some of my colleagues to give me some good tips to pass along to you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm writing myself notes as we go through just to make sure. Connect Math, how to graph. Okay. And I'll get something put in there for you. Well, I've got y'all here. Basically, we're working on this next chapter, chapter 3. It's a fairly short chapter compared to other I guess getting materials ready for a test. This chapter is 5 sections, and that's all that the test will be over. Okay. In these 5 sections, the first one is going to be strictly the quadratic function and all of the things about the quadratic function. So we're going back not to the quadratic equation, but we will be using some of those techniques that we learned back then. Then we're moving into the generic polynomial function. And that's really where sections 2, 3, and 4 are going to focus their attention on. And then the last section, section 5, gives us a real quick view of the rational function. And that just means that the function is going to come to us looking like a fraction. It's going to have variables on top. It'll have variables on bottom. It makes the picture look different whenever we have that kind of scenario. So we will have something like that. So basically there's kind of like three things, I guess, on the test, or in this area. We've got quadratic formula or quadratic functions all by themselves. Then we've got the polynomial as the generic, and then we have the rational function. So there'll be three different things to kind of concentrate on. Okay. I do have your notes for, let me see. Let me make sure I save what I'm in right now. And I do have your notes, I believe, blank. That helps a whole lot, doesn't it? In modules, let me double check with you. Okay, in test 3, which is module 3 materials, chapter 3 notes. Actually, I have them all there. They're all blank for you so far. Okay. So what I'll do, you're first on my list today. We can definitely like open it up if you want to kind of like get the basics of it. That's fine. But I will definitely do an official video lecture for you. Okay. And so, like I said, you're first on my list now of to-dos. And so I will put that up there for you later on this afternoon. Okay.
Okay.
When I was talking about having y'all together right now, test number 3 right now looks like it will open on the 17th of April.
Okay.
Open at 12:01 a.m. And then it will close on the 20th of April at 11 p.m. Now, I believe that's over a weekend, and I hate that, but what I've made sure is that it's open on the Friday. You've got Saturday, Sunday, because I've got some people that are pulling some amazing work hours right now. So they need the weekend to have an opportunity to take the test. And then I also gave you the Monday. Okay, so I'm hoping that if you know ahead of time, okay, then you can kind of plan hopefully around that schedule. If something happens, then you need to let me know at ASAP. Okay, so so we can work with you on that. My other question to you is, and this is what this is going to be a huge risk that we're taking here, but would it be to your advantage? Okay, it doesn't matter to me either way. Is it to your advantage if I go ahead and leave all the homework open until the let's say, I guess it would be the 19th of April, so that all those sections are due at the same time, but you could finish them at your need? Or will you just procrastinate and not do them till the very end? See, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice if it could be open, just because I am still working a lot myself. I work at a doctor's office,
Sure.
so I have to be there, you know.
I agree.
And that's the hard part, at least for me, is because I'm there all day, every day of the week, except for Tuesdays, Thursdays. Since we have a 2-hour lunch, I'm able to, you know, get on here and do that. So
Okay.
I think the more time it's open, at least for me personally, would be great. So then I have time to really sit down and do it and focus on it, you know, because then if not, then I'm going to be working, and then it's like, oh, I have to ask for time off to do it and blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I say leave it open, and those of us who procrastinate will just have to set dates for ourselves.
Okay. And that's what I was going to say too. What I could do is like give you a mock schedule maybe.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Let me go ahead and write something up where like, let's say I get those notes out to you this afternoon. I would say by Sunday, y'all need to have finished the homework. Okay, so that's what I would do. So
Yeah,
let
that
me
helps.
pick up will that be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, y'all are making me work. Okay. So list of due
wait, so
dates.
by this Sunday, everything will have to be due as far as the homework?
No. What I'm saying is that I'm going to open up the homework through April the 19th at 11:59 p.m. Okay. Because
Okay,
remember,
okay.
you'll also have a review that you'll want to go look at. I'm not going to change those kind of things that we've already started. So I'll be
Yeah.
working on a review to get to you. Now, what I'm saying is that because I don't want you to procrastinate, I would give you a list of dates, ideally, that you should, if you want to keep on track, would want to hit.
Yeah, that
Okay.
sounds. I like that because I like the dates. For me, it helps me out to know. You know, it's just easier for some of us.
Sure. So if I said, you know, if you're gonna do this like we would normally do, okay, then section 3.1, I probably would have a Sunday night due time on it. Then section 3.2, traditionally, I probably would say Wednesday, you have a due date. So basically, I'll go in there to Connect Math, look at what dates I had preset, write those for myself, and then go back and reopen all of them until the 19th of April. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Make more sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Haas, I have a question about our final. Is it going to still be the same way we had it planned, like all multiple choice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We got word not too long ago that, which is interesting, but we're going to continue to use the same final exam we've been using, and it'll just be online instead. Well, the one before we had 33 questions on. They were all multiple choice. On the final exam, we don't grade your work. I like for my students to give me their work simply because it's tricky now because you're going to be on the computer. You know, what if you do select the wrong answer? I don't even have a piece of paper anymore that tells me that, you know, you were trying to do something, but for whatever reason, you picked the wrong answer. So that's a safety net for me and for you both. Plus two, if you're on the borderline of, like, let's say you're hanging out there with like a 78.6, technically that's a 79. I'd love to find a reason to push you over. If I can find some work in your final exam to go back and recover some points, that'll help. So I'd look at it as a safety net for you, but yeah, the majority of our faculty final exams, if they're multiple choice, we just don't check work. Okay.
Okay.
So, on this test coming up, which will be a little bit new for us, and it worked pretty well for pre-cal. Well, actually, you just did it too. How did the uploading go?
You helped me out once you answered my questions on how to upload I couldn't find out how to upload the work.
Gotcha. Does it make sense now, though?
Yeah, the way you did it was, it made sense to me, and I was able to. I hope it went through. I think it did.
Okay.
If you have the Canvas app on your phone, and you literally just take pictures on your, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
If you literally just take pictures on your phone and then you go into the Canvas app, you can just upload them directly from your photo library. So that was really easy for me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Yeah, and you know, if for some reason you don't have a phone, then if you can, you know, scan them somehow, or you know, whatever you can do, and then send them to me. I had a couple people send them to me through email, but not very many, which was great because it's so much more. It's harder for me to get those than I can't write on them. So I'm trying to send you feedback as much as I can, either in the comment section, or I'm actually writing on your papers virtually. Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else I can do to kind of, since we know we're in this for the long haul now, I do have myself a note that I need to start working on the review for the test, even though we're just now starting into the new chapter. What I would like to do is front load you as best as I can.
Right.
I've got all of the preliminary blank notes there for you. You can always go in and start looking at some of the videos that we have for you. Like I said, to me, the easiest way to do that is to go into the e-textbook and go to the chapter, go to the section, and then go through that. Everything that's blue is an active link, and so you can look up any type of video you want. Meanwhile, I'm going to take the notes that you'll see in chapter 3 right now, and I'm going to go through there and just build a video lesson for you.
Okay.
I think it'll be easier for you because you kind of know my style of teaching. I'm not going to change. I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to cut through a lot of the red tape if I can on some things. And so if you go out there and watch another video, they may go into more depth. But I will not cheat you on anything, that's for sure. But I'll try to keep it as straightforward as I can for you. Okay. You want to take a look at the first set of notes just to kind of get a feel for them, or yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Let me go out here and find this little guy somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, that's him. Okay. Do you see a 3.1 quadratic functions?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, man, this is still not the right one though. Hold up. Dadgummit, I changed it to a different one. Now I've got to find him. Let me go back in here and see. Really? Really? Okay. I've got a couple of different ones. Sorry you're having to see all my stuff. Let me see. Huh. Ah, okay, yay. I need to clean up my stuff. Got too much going. Okay, here we go. And this should be us. Crap, it's still not there. Oops. Hold up. Let me go back. Trying to find the one that actually has the, let's see if this is him. I think that's him. Okay. Yay. Okay. That's the version you're going to see too. I was missing some equations up there and I didn't want that to happen to us. Okay, so for the first part of what we're looking at here, we've learned how to solve equations, and now we're going to look at what happens if you're just talking about a function, and what does its picture look like, and what are some things you and I can tell about the picture just by looking at the function itself. And so basically what they tell us, let me get a little highlighter here. Okay. They tell us that in quadratic functions, you can have something called a standard form, and you can have something called a vertex form. Okay, so there's two different ways a quadratic function can be written. You're used to seeing both of these actually. The first one you've seen where it would say something like solve 2x squared plus 3x plus 4 equals 0. So we learned how to either use factoring, quadratic formula was real popular. Those were used to solve that standard form when it was set equal to 0. The vertex form you actually have seen whenever we were talking about transformations, like which way is the graph going to move, left or right? Is it going to go up or down? That A value that you see there in front of the parentheses, that's the guy that would tell us if we're going to stretch vertically or shrink vertically. So we've seen these two kind of things in action, but we've really never used them for any purpose other than the transformation and solving equations. What our job now is to look at how do these functions work and the dynamics of the actual formulas. So first thing that we are going to recognize here is the fact that the graph of a parabola, that's always going to be what a quadratic looks like. It has a vertex of HK. That's what's important to us. Okay. This is the point where it changes direction. So remember when we were talking about increase versus decrease, and it would change its direction at a point, and you and I would call it a maximum point or a minimum point. Well, when you're talking about a quadratic function, because the graph is a parabola, you only have one opportunity of changing your direction. And so since there's only one time that happens in a quadratic, we give it a name, and so we call it the vertex. So in this first picture here that you see, this point that I'm circling right there, that's the vertex. This is where it was decreasing, then it changed its mind and went to an increase. If the picture turns upside down, and I'll tell you how we know that in a minute, then it was increasing and then decreasing. Okay, so that's real important to us. The second thing that's important to us about both of these equations here, or both of these formats, is this value of A. And it tells us if A is greater than 0, you should expect your parabola to go up. Makes sense, because if you're a positive number, it should go up. What we learned is that if that number in front, right here in the vertex format, when we were doing transformations, if we ever saw a negative number, so that's this case, if your A is ever less than 0, which is negative, the graph turned upside down. And we know that because it was called reflection across the x-axis. So our vocabulary is changing a little bit. As far as the dynamics of the problem, they're not changing. So the multiplier of the leading term right here in the standard form, that A, and the A over here in the vertex form are doing the same job that they did before. Just what's important to us right now is it positive or negative? And if it's positive, the graph goes up. If it's negative, the graph turned upside down. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing that's important to us is this thing called axis of symmetry. Now, we've talked about symmetry before, but we talked about x-axis symmetry, y-axis symmetry, and origin symmetry. That's what we talked about this last chapter. Now what we're saying is that no matter where the parabola is going to be drawn on the graph, he will take his own personal axis of symmetry with him. And so this axis of symmetry is just exactly what we had talked before, where you can fold the graph so that the left side and the right side would match. And so you can see this little dashed line on both of the pictures. That is the axis of symmetry. What this line does, it's dotted because it's imaginary, basically. It doesn't exist, but it is a helpful tool for you and me. As we get, I'll do some more work on this, of course, with you in the official lesson. But what's cool about this is whenever you have this axis of symmetry right here that runs through the vertex, let's say you know there's a point over here on the right-hand side, then according to the definition of symmetry, there should be another point right there on the other side of the line of symmetry. That's what that line of symmetry does for me. So if I can figure out some points on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side, then I can just have them mirror themselves over the line of symmetry. Okay, so that's what's good about it. The big thing that people mess up on, and like I said, I'll start this lesson totally over whenever I do the video, but this axis of symmetry is always an equation. Okay, it's always an equation. You and I only study functions in this class, so we'll only study the graph goes up or the graph goes down. In pre-cal, we let the graph go to the left and the right. So in that case, those aren't functions, so we have to deal with it a little bit differently. But these are both functions here. And what's wicked then is that if you have a graph that goes up or if you have a graph that goes down, your axis of symmetry is always going to be a vertical line, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so vertical lines have their own equation. I've been watching too much Disney. This one kind of looks like Poseidon's little thing. Okay. The axis of symmetry is going to be a vertical line, so it's always going to be x equal to some number. Okay. Well, if you look up here in the definition, it says that the axis of symmetry is always x equals to h. Well, this h is also found in the vertex. It's right there in the vertex. They'll be the same number. So once you identify the vertex, you also kind of have identified where the axis of symmetry will be drawn vertically through. And so you can immediately write down what the axis of symmetry is. Like for example, let's say this just happened to be the point, let's say 2, 3. Then my axis of symmetry would be x is equal to what? Which one of those is the x? 2 or 3?
2.
2, that's right. X is a 2. So the line of symmetry or axis of symmetry always just tells you, I'm going to run through all of the x's where x is 2. So like this would be 2, 3. This will be like 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7. This is an imaginary line. And I guess I can get in here maybe. I think he's going to take them all away though. Yep, he did. Shoot. Okay. Well, you can go in there and let me just redraw them. You would have like a little dashed line through there. Now this is something I'm going to have to look up on Connect Math too. I know in my math lab, in his instruction for graphing, he tells us to put the axis of symmetry in our graph and to make sure that it's a dotted line. I can't remember on Connect Math, so I'm gonna have to run in there also and I'll double check to see, you know, if he's gonna require the axis of symmetry or not. If he does, then you have to change the style of what the line will look like. It's not the connected line anymore, it's a dashed line. So let me play around and check that out for you too. And I'll make sure I make note of that in the lecture, okay? The other thing, just FYI, okay, just so you can get kind of like your feet on the ground and everything. A lot of this material, like I said, is kind of a carryover from our last chapter. And so even if you have what they call a maximum point, the maximum value, notice, is always the K part of the vertex. If you have a minimum point, which means the graph went up, then its minimum value is also the K. Well, what are they talking about the K? Well, the K is the second part of the vertex, isn't it? Excuse me. So H right here is reserved for the axis of symmetry. K value is reserved for if it's a max or a min value. So both of those pieces that we put together as the vertex are going to tell us lots of information. So let's run back up here. I'm sure, go for it.
Is it safe to assume like the H and the K are pretty much like X and Y, like as far as? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
They're just unique in this situation. And if you go up to this vertex form that we were talking about for the quadratic up at the top, remember we had looked at problems like, let's say we had y equals to x minus 2, that was squared, plus 4, something like that. And so we would ask you, what are the transformations taking place on the parent? So this would tell me that I was going 2 which way? Do you remember? If you have x minus 2 inside, this would be 2. Good. 2 right, good. And what would this plus 4 tell people?
Up 4.
Up 4.
Up 4. Okay. So think about, I'm going to have to write down here so I'm out of room, but think about what you're telling people. The original parent would have been the parabola who would have had his vertex at 0, 0. Ooh, that's awful. Okay. So what you're telling people is that I'm moving every one of my points to the right 2 and up 4. So this guy, which would have been the vertex at 0, 0 for the parent, has now moved over 2, and he's moved up 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So now he has moved the entire graph up 2 and over 4. When we were looking at transformations, I told you to try to find a point that you could like fixate on. It was unique about the graph so you could follow it. The most unique point on a parabola is its vertex. And so now if I go over 2 and up 4, my vertex now is, sure enough, at 2, 4. These are telling people what happened to the original graph. So what I love about vertex form, if it's written to you up here at the top of the page, like I wrote how you and I were doing transformations, if it's written this way, H and K is in your face, okay? H is going to be, did you move left or right and how far? Your K is going to be, did you move up or down and how many? Be careful, Notice in this problem, it said x minus 2, but down here in the vertex, it's a positive 2. Okay. Again, nobody's going to take your calculator away from you. You can see if that graph goes left or right. If it goes to the left, you're going to have to put a negative in front of the h value. So basically, it's the same thing as we were doing before. It's just instead of me telling you it's going right and up, I'm going to tell you, hey, his vertex is now at 2, 4. And that tells everybody what the transformations actually are. Do you see how it's kind of trying to fit together now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The downfall is what happens if somebody hands us something in the standard form. This is where things get a little bit different. In that formula, do you see an H or a K?
No.
Me neither. Okay. So there are 2 ways that you and I are going to be able to find the vertex. One would be, one of the methods that we didn't really work on that hard was complete the square. Complete the square method does give you a chance to get H and K, but it's not real easy. So there's another way that we can do it. And just to share with you, like I said, I'll do this lesson for you. Let me get my other page. And let me get them to take all that junk off. Let me see real quick. Let me find a real page I want. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is going to be the 3rd page of the notes. And what it says is that sometimes our quadratic function looks like a good old-fashioned quadratic equation would. And so since there's no h and k standing there for us, we have to know how to figure it out. What they figured out is that the h for the vertex can be calculated as negative b over 2a. Now these a's and b's that we're using here come back from the quadratic function itself. You remember in the equation how if we had something like, let's see, 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 7. Do you remember what we had to do first to solve this thing?
Take out the 7.
Yeah, he's going to have to move to the other side, isn't he? So that this becomes then 0.
Yeah, that becomes -7, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. The benefit of I love functions because when you have a function, all of the parts are together on one side automatically. So your A and your B are the only 2 you're going to need. Your A and your B are going to be there looking at you. So you'll still take the opposite of the B over 2A. That's how you get the H value. To get the K value, because it's kind of cryptic in here the way this is written, but the K value is going to say, what did you get for H? Load that into the function. So like, for example, if I were to find out that H ends up being like a 4, then for the K value, I'd go back to the original function and put a 4 inside of it and figure out how much it's worth. Just supposing it ends up being 4. Okay. So it's a little bit cryptic looking. Like I said, I think I can do you a world of good by taking you through the actual lecture. It'll probably take about a good hour for sure for me to get through this and not to leave anything out and to do some decent sketches for you. Okay. But I'll get all that done for you and then send it your way. But that's the main things that they're talking about right here in this section. You'll notice that all the problems are saying, find the vertex, find the vertex. Here it says, can you find me the x-intercepts? Now this goes back to what we know about x-intercepts. For an x-intercept, all you have to do is let y equal 0. And then you'll go in and solve for the x, okay? If they want the y-intercept, we do vice versa. We let the x equal to 0 and solve for the y. Now, you're not going to see a literal y here, but in this equation right here, let me kind of box them in for you in that example. Where's y? Right here. Yeah, it's really right here, isn't it? Isn't that just a fancy way to say y?
Mm-hmm.
So we could do that and just make that a y when we're going to look for the x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Okay. At most, since you're a function, you will have at most one y-intercept. Traditionally, because x in the quadratic is squared, traditionally we look for two x-intercepts. Okay. If for some reason, when you go to solve this function equal to 0 and you get into the imaginary numbers, okay, if you end up with imaginary numbers are not x-intercepts. Why? Why are imaginary numbers not x-intercepts?
You can't graph them?
You got it. Perfect. You can't graph them. So if for some reason we find out that our graph is doing some job like this, let's say he's hanging out in quadrant 1 like that, what did he not do with the x-axis? What did he not do?
Not touch it?
Yeah. Most of the time we're looking at quadratics that'll like swing through, ooh, that's awful, and come back up, right? And when they do that, that means here's an x-intercept and here's an x-intercept. On this graph up here, if you end up with imaginary numbers for x-intercepts, that means that this dude did not touch the x-axis anywhere in here. So that's how we know he's hanging out somewhere in a different quadrant. He did not touch your x-axis. So our technique is the same. We set him equal to 0. We go in there. We try to factor in maybe. You may just go straight to the quadratic formula. Right? Nobody's going to stop you from graphing him. You could definitely have gone up here at the very beginning and said, well, I'm going to put in for y1 in my calculator just to get a look at what he looks like. Sometimes you can almost guess what the vertex is going to be. But then sometimes they'll throw you one that's just nasty. Okay. And so you couldn't guess it if you wanted to. So that's why we have the technique of how to actually solve for the vertex if we need to. All right, those are the main things that are in this section, okay? So you're to identify, number 1, do I have a quadratic function? Of course you will. In this case, that's what the title is. Which style do I have? Do I have this first style, which happens to be standard, which I can't see the vertex, I have to go find him? Or do I have the vertex form where the vertex is looking at me? He's already written out in the problem. Okay. They give you enough to start on, you think?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to see what else is. I forget. Oh, and then we'll have some applications. Don't freak. Yes, there are word problems, but like I said, let me take you through some examples first, and I think you'll be much better prepared that way. This last one here is a little bit confusing. I'll do my very best to help you out with this one here too, but I really need to do a lot of drawing and talk you through it. So basically what this first section is, it's trying to help us figure out what's the, in this particular case, if I'm a farmer and I want to build a corral and I want it in a certain design, but I can only afford so much fencing, then what's my best to maximize the area for the horses, okay? And so, believe it or not, when someone says what's your maximum or minimum, it's a parabola, it's a quadratic. So we'll have to make up our own equation for this last example, the one right before it, where the quarterback is throwing a football. We got really lucky here because, if I can get my pen to work, they gave me the function, and that's fantastic when that happens, because now I'm ready to go work. Okay. Okay. Like I said, give me some time this afternoon. I'll get this all put together for you. Doing the lesson takes about an hour, and then depending upon how busy Zoom and Stream are, I have to upload the video. And another thing that someone said about like not wanting to go through all of the video, if I can figure out, there's a way that I can put like hashtags in there for it to search for different words. What I may do is like whatever type of problem I'm working on, I may try to put a hashtag in there. So when you say application using area, something like that, then it should be able to go straight to that part of the video. Like I said, I am on a learning curve that's pretty steep right now. So I am figuring all this out as we go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Breathe. Okay. Breathe. That's the number one thing. Like I said, we're in this for the long haul. Okay. We're going to be okay. We just need to put the effort towards it. Please don't forget about sit sessions. If you can make some of those, if you haven't looked at the newest, I think like version 18, I don't know, of the sit online sessions, they added a few more, and there's actually a couple open at the same time. They became kind of popular times, and so we were not having enough room for everybody, so that's why they opened up another section. But all of that is on that list for you.
Sounds good.
All right. Meantime, I'll get to working on those people who have put their test in for me. I'll go and start looking at those too. But I really want to get my lesson done with you first and get it streamed.
That sounds fine.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sure, no
And
problem.
FYI, you are actually doing a lot better on these Zoom and like, I don't know. I just feel like you're doing a much better job than my other professor when it comes to staying in touch with us. I'm serious.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. At McKinney, anyway, with our dean and definitely with our department. In fact, on Friday, we'll have everybody has classes, so we're meeting from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night to go over things to help everybody try to fine tune their Zooming and their notes, and and so we are trying to help each other out too. So we're trying. So
Yeah.
well, hopefully maybe they just hadn't made an investment yet into this, but now that they know that it's for the long haul, maybe things will turn around for you.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll keep our fingers crossed if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
bet.
Thank you.
Y'all try to stay well, and anybody sews, does anybody want to make everybody a mask, a cool math one or something? I love algebra or something on the front. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, y'all take care. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ross.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.